Welcome to the Never Ending Backlog podcast, your place for short reviews from a gamer with the goal of reducing his backlog. From adventures to sandboxes, join our host as we walk through a collection of unplayed treasures. Now, let's take a look at the featured game of this episode of the Never Ending Backlog.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Never Ending Backlog podcast. I'm your host Zach, and today we are reviewing Sacred 2 Gold Edition. Experience the world of Ancaria in its full glory with Sacred 2 Gold Edition, containing Sacred 2 Fallen Angel and the awesome add-on Ice and Blood. Defeat countless dangerous enemies, capture powerful weapons and valuable treasures. Prepare yourself for the ultimate battle and become a legend. The genre is RPG hack and slash. The release date was 2012. The developer was Ascaron. They're responsible for Patrician, Darkstar 1, Port Royale, and many other games. The publisher is THQ Nordic, who's known for Aquanox, which I definitely want to play, Destroy All Humans, Darksiders franchise, and many other games. Current price is $14.99. According to Is There Any Deal, the best price was $2.49 on Direct to Drive. Now let's jump into the actual review. It installed fine. It's not that large of a game considering it is from 2012. It does have the expansion packs, which is a nice addition. It actually started up in windowed mode, which was really appreciative. Made it really easy for recording the video for my OBS. The graphics, like I mentioned, were really nice. It is from 2012, so you can't expect too much, great graphics. But overall, it's not too bad. I will say the camera functions are very funky. It forces certain aspects that's just frustrating, and you can't zoom out the way you'd want to. It seems like when you zoom out, it's basically zooming out directly on top of your character, and then when you zoom in, it zooms in kind of behind it, but you kind of want to see further down, like maybe your character's eyesight, and you really can't achieve that well in this game. So I'm kind of critiquing. I'm not a big fan of the camera in this game, unfortunately. Regarding audio, I think the soundtrack is actually pretty smooth. The music is really nice. The one thing I do like is when you actually get ready to engage in combat, since think of this as a Diablo game, and when a monster is getting near you, you actually can attack. It plays like a certain type of attack music, basically, so you know you're engaged in some type of battle. And this works really well, especially if you don't necessarily see what you're attacking, and you hear the music pop up, you know that you're going to be attacked, so you can kind of be alert and start looking around. And I really do like that quite a bit. Regarding gameplay, you play as a hero you choose, you get to customize and build them, and then you just complete quests. The Sacred 1 is the one I've played quite a bit, about 9 to 10 hours in the past, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Sacred 2 Gold, never really got into it, always had it. I always enjoyed Sacred Gold 1. I always enjoy these type of games, so, like Dungeon Siege, Diablo, Fate, Torchlight, Sacred 2, Sacred, and all of them. I really always enjoyed this type of gameplay. It works really well. They're really fun in multiplayer and co-op when you can get them. But even just single player, they're a good grind type of game. I think that's why I get along, really get into these type of games. Like the Dark Souls games are very grindy. You can just keep playing, killing the same creatures over, resting at a bonfire and doing it again and again and again. And I really enjoy that. It's a very mindless, repetitive task that there's still some challenge there, but it's not overwhelming. Regarding difficulty for Sacred 2 Gold, it doesn't seem very difficult. I think I chose bronze difficulty though, so that's to be expected. But overall, it's a point-and-click game. Those are only so challenging in the end. The weapons were pretty cool, and overall, I think it works relatively well. Some interesting note, the game actually allows you to play as a sci-fi Anubis warrior, which reminds me of Stargate SG-1, which I think is awesome. It does have some guns, or like laser guns, which I think is pretty cool. This is more of a medieval fantasy theme, which I think is, it's interesting in those regards. I will say I'm not a big fan of the theme. It seems very similar to the Warlords Battlecry games, which, don't get me wrong, I love the Warlords Battlecry games, but it's all of these themes and designs and templates all shoved into one game. And in this game, it's very, very noticeable. Like 1 minute you'll be fighting a ghost, a few minutes later you'll fight a robot, a few minutes later you'll fight a giant frog, a few minutes later you'll fight like a kobold, a few minutes later it'll be maybe a rogue or a bandit, or then a few seconds later it'll be a pirate. And it's just like, what is going on here? What world am I living in? And even like the NPCs make jokes where they're like, I'm just an extra. So I think the game realizes it's kind of a funky little game where it's like, we're going to shove all this really cool stuff into one game and just hope it sticks. And overall, I think it's not bad. It's just not the type of game. I like themes, and I like them played out in themes. It's just something I look for in these type of games. But overall, I think it's a pretty fun game. I will say, would I recommend this game? Probably not. It came out in 2012, so there's far better options out there. It is $15, and it's not on sale right now, so I think that's kind of a letdown. I think you can find better games. Even older games, I think, are somewhat better. Like, I'm a big fan of going back to Diablo 2 and Lord of Destruction from Diablo 2, the expansion pack, and I'll play that for days. I think it's just a better made game. It's very clean. The graphics are not as good as Sacred 2 Gold, but it's got a bigger following. There's a lot of stuff to do to it. And like I said, I'm a big Diablo fan, so it's to be expected that I would recommend that. For this game, if you're looking for just like, I will say, Sacred 2 Gold does have good mechanics overall. There's a lot of stuff to it. There's a lot of different weapons. There's a lot of different spells and armor, and there's just a lot to it. You can tell there's a lot of depth to this game, which I really do appreciate that. And the other Sacred games, there's just a ton of quests. I mean, you're just constantly doing quests. You have mounts that you can ride around. And I really do like those aspects. It's kind of like a World of Warcraft top view that you can play single player, which I think is really cool. But there's just some things about this game. Like I said, the camera is really funky. You can use WSAD to move your character. Well, kind of. You can use W and S to move your character forwards and backwards. And you can use A and D to turn the camera. And then, so think of it like driving the Warhog in the Halo game. It goes in whatever direction the camera's pointed in. This is the same thing for your character. The downside is if you push W, you just tap it. You expect him to move and just stop, or her move and just stop. The thing is, there's like this trailing effect. So you push W, and your character will take like 5 or 6 extra steps. So you're not actually being as precise. So you're kind of forced to this point and click. And that kind of bothers me, where it's like, well, if I'm using W and S to move my character, then you could expect that I want this exact real-time movement. I don't want this trailing effect where if I click W, I'm going to be worried that my character's going to walk an extra 10 feet and not, it's just a frustrating experience. It's not very clean. It could be a lot better. And there are a lot of those little things about this game. And like I said, I think the biggest thing for me with this game is the theming is just weird. I love playing as an Anubis sci-fi warrior that has the cool, the wolf head or the dog head, and then mixed with, alien Metroid blasters on your hand, and then you have a sword. I think that's super cool. I love that, and I would love it like a sci-fi space game. I know there's a few of them that played in the past that were not the best, so this is really cool. But then again, I don't want to fight skeletons and ghosts and stuff like that. That's just a weird mashup, and I look for some type of theme correlation rather than just, hey, we're developers, we just shove it all into one game. I would have been fine with this years ago, but now I'm a stickler. So that's my review of Sacred 2 Gold on Steam. You can pick it up for $14.99. Definitely not a bad game. If you like point and click hack and slash games, I think you'll probably thoroughly enjoy it. Like I said, it runs really well, but for me, I can't recommend it. There are better options out there now. And yeah, so I will see you next time.